You smell what the Rock is cooking.
Acknowledge me.
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
We are bad to the bone. Get it? Bad to the bone.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
I'll fight anybody. Who do you want? Just let me fight him.
Let me tell you something, Jim Ross.
Mega power, yeah.
We got it for you.
We are the best of the best.
Woo! Wheeling dealing. Smart marks.
And that's the bottom line, cause Stone Cold said so.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Talk 'em into the building, where all we do is talk about the promo. Well, most of the time, that's all we do. But I'm here today. We'll talk about that in a second. We're here today with my West Coast friend, Ida Lead. What's going on all the way from LA?
What's up, Greg? Hey, man.
What's going on? And then, of course, right here in the ATL, Adrian. What's going on, bro?
What's happening, man? Welcome back.
Yeah, he's the king of the pink and black attack. You know, we always got to look at Adrian and know that at some point, some way, he's going to have a Hitman reference somewhere in his household or something.
No doubt.
Well, today, as you guys know, we usually talk about the promo. Like, talk them in the building. It's all about the promo. What talks us into the building? So today, we're going to talk about in the building. An in the building report from Ida Lead, who was recently at AEW 300. So, Ida Lead, I'm going to come to you first. Who, what, and why were you talked into the building for this show? Because here, let me preface it. We're not always the most positive people on this show about AEW. We're AEW fans. We pull for them, but we're pretty critical sometimes. So, what talked you into the building?
Well, thanks for the setup because I don't want to go down that rabbit hole again. But honestly, just the idea that it's 300, to be honest, and the ability to get there with enough time. A lot of the times, look, guys, we go to these shows and we don't talk about this, but traffic and getting there is a big component to getting there on time. And especially when you're doing these West Coast shows and that start way earlier, that definitely plays into the factor. So LA to Ontario, because this wasn't in LA, it was held in Ontario, California, which is straight shot from the Young Bucks' home, Rancho Cucamonga. It's an hour. You can be up in traffic an hour and a half, really. So you have to account for that and getting there. For me, it was kind of that marquee thing. If it's AEW 300, it's, 2 weeks before their big all-in pay-per-view. They're basically their WrestleMania. And I thought, why the hell not? Plus, tickets were a lot cheaper than any WWE shows that are going on even this weekend. So let's be real. That definitely accounted for it. Mm-hmm. I think we paid I paid $100 and something bucks, and I was maybe 4 rows up from the floor.
Nice.
They were, and that arena holds. I think it was like 5,000 people were there. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty. It was a good crowd, definitely good crowd, but. The sizing of it just makes it really, really intimate for pro wrestling, I guess. Not really a bad seat in the house. But really, yeah, I think it was that. I think it's the idea of I've been getting more into AEW lately. I can't say I'm like watching it religiously. I'm not watching it like I did once upon a time, but I can appreciate certain developments. They're hitting a different gear nowadays, at least at the main event stage. I can't say for the other ones because I have my critiques, but definitely it being the marquee episode. And then they taped another episode. They taped Collision 100, which I'll get into that later, but that was unexpected. So that was essentially what drew me into the building.
So let me pause for 1 second. I know not just us, a lot of people are very critical of AEW. But the fact that this is 300, that's something we should celebrate. That's
a huge accomplishment. Whew. Hell yeah.
God bless Tony Khan for not only helping create the company, putting money behind it, giving guys a chance to work, giving guys a chance to make a living, not just in front of the camera, right? Behind the camera, staff, everything. Because while a lot of people are critical, and of both companies or all companies,
yeah,
it's just the fact that, man, they hit 300. That's huge.
That's awesome.
And that's something that's really cool. So, I'm sure it was kind of neat to be in there for that milestone.
It was, and it's, again, I think we've all talked about this in previous episodes, but just talking about how AEW, it's an inception, right? It had a lot of goodwill. A lot of us, were coming off this anti-WWE thing and just circumstances, which we won't, delve too deeply into here. We've done it in other episodes. But just that goodwill, it felt like a little bit like those early episodes almost. Like the crowd was there for it. The crowd knew the wrestlers. They had a sense of the storylines. It was just a really good atmosphere. It was a good vibe. People were for it. People were in a good mood. So many times, we go to these shows, and unfortunately, as wrestling fans, we like to be the stars of the own show, despite there being a show in front of us, right? And biggest pet peeve ever. But there was a little bit of that, but not obnoxiously. It was all within the realm of what we were seeing,
Mm-hmm.
and they brought the goods. I mean, all the stars were there, all their big names showed up, and I think that's the attraction is they've built this this cast of characters almost slowly, because again, what's the biggest criticism, right, is they just signed WWE guys, right? In a lot of these cases, at least my favorite people there right now, some of them are ex WWE guys, but they're almost people who just didn't quite make the cut in WWE, right? Like a Tony Storm, like a Swerve. But then you have guys like a Hangman, which he'll talk me into the building just because I really like the way he kind of carries himself and whatnot. I think he is kind of that OG that has mainstayed and a bit more relevant to me despite other distractions. But definitely, it felt different. It felt like something special, really.
Very cool. So, like off camera, was there anything that they came out and said? Like, was there anything that they acknowledged? Hey, this milestone. Did TK come out and thank the crowd or anything? Just off camera stuff we didn't see on TV.
Yeah, there were little pieces there that Tony Khan came up at the beginning of the show, came up at the end of the show, in midway through the show. I think my memory's foggy and how many times he came out, but he did come up a few times. Even at the end of the pay-per-view, I mean, it was a long night. I will say this: you go into that knowing that,
Yeah, for sure.
but man, we were there. I mean, and went with one of my buddies and over here, Caesar, and we were there. I think, gosh, show started. Doors open 4:30. Probably got there like before 4 o'clock for sure, and we didn't get out there closer till 10. Probably once we just chit chatting and whatnot.
Jeez.
So it's a long night, and yeah, once Collision hit, I dipped out. I was like, I gotta stretch my legs, and I think that's where Tony Khan came up a second time or something like that. But there was definitely he has this reputation for coming out and hyping up the crowd, and he was definitely hyped. He was out for some pre-matches. You can see him kind of he hadn't gone on the stage and talked. And then you had some sidebars. You had who's the ref? The Aubrey, is that her name?
Aubrey Edwards, yeah.
Aubrey Edwards. There you go. Sorry, I couldn't remember her last name. She was out on the concourse, just meeting and greeting fans, not charging. I think it was part of their heels thing. Is that thing that I think Brandy used to have or something like get more women into wrestling and whatnot. So it was cool. Like AEW, I think at its core still has this grassroots feeling, as weird as it is to believe. And yeah, it was other than that, they definitely treat it like a special occasion. And I know there's pyro most places, but it is cool to see the pyro to start.
Mm-hmm.
And towards the end of the show, he teased that LA will get a pay-per-view soon. So that obviously left the crowd on a good note for sure.
Nice.
Very cool. So from being in the building, production wise, like whether it was the entrances, the music, pyro, visuals, how did that feel?
It was they have good production. I mean, I think from the beginning, they had their moments where I think they got it down pat. I mean, I've been to enough of these shows to see when there was some growing pains and whatnot and some technical issues, but there's all these little things that you notice at live shows. At least the comparison is always going to be WWE, but these little packages that are only for the crowd, like they're advertising something or advertising movement. And I think one of the first packages we saw was advertising like AEW games, and it's like Adam Cole and Evil Uno, and very, very, very well produced, very well packaged and quick, right? Just to the point, to the point. And that was the main thing that got me too, is when we got there, production was set, stage looked great, it was a bigger screen. They did have pyro, like I said. And the crew, always shout out to any crew at a televised wrestling show, because man, it's incredible how quickly they just get things changed and get the match changed, get everything switched over, or even the camera people getting people blocked. And we kind of knew we the seats where I was at, they were positioned in a way where you could see down the tunnel where most of the wrestlers and if they were coming from a different position, so like Moxley and crew coming in, we could see them turn into a side tunnel where they were going to set up to come out, and then they close it off with curtains and whatnot. But yeah, just really, really, well developed. Very, you can tell they've been doing it for ages. And I recognize some of the crew members. I mean, some of the staff on there, more than one, I can see them like, oh, those dudes have been here since day one. They're like they know the deal. They've been here since day one, and they're still doing it. So from a production, top notch, really great production, and especially utilizing the building, because again, it's not a big arena, but then you go outside and it's a fully formed arena. I mean, WWE's run like Monday Night Raws from there too, so it's not. And this is recent, not like decades ago or something like that.
So being in a building, like I think you've been in AEW and you've been in other shows that are bigger, right? Or I say bigger crowd wise,
right?
Do you feel like this is the right move? Because from a TV perspective, I feel like AEW used to always feel like a party, and I feel like they're getting that back because they've moved to these smaller venues. Kind of feel like what did you feel like?
It's interesting you say that, because as I was thinking about it, I would say in my back in mind, I'm wondering why didn't they run this in the Forum? Because I get the connection to the Young Bucks, but that's that can be secondary. That doesn't have to be storyline or anything like that. They've run that arena before for other things, for I think even a pay-per-view, I think. But one of the things that stood out is, again, because it was so small, it did feel like a lot of diehards. You did have kids there too. Like it was a good mix of people. It wasn't just what you typically think of the wrestling fan. And what got to me was also the fans that were showing up were taking advantage of the fact that it was this very confined space. So like you could start a chant and it didn't take a lot for people to catch on with you, right? Because people were in the know. And I think, to your point, having that in the know crowd who still has that goodwill in that smaller space really encourages what the action in the ring and how we respond, how the wrestlers feel supported. Because I think there was something online of I think during Moxley's promo, he had a little flub, right? And the crowd just jumped on him. But it was funny because I think the child Ted bald, because that's a thing they got going on with Ricochet or something like that. But it was like, okay, but it was this throwaway moment. It was like, okay, we're gonna hang on to this moment. It was a throwaway moment. But again, if this was in a bigger arena, it would have been thrown out, would have been lost in the ether if they'd done it at the Kia Forum or Staples Center or whatnot, just because they're bigger venues. But I'll give you a taste of what it actually looked like here. Let me see if I could pull it up. If you're watching this here on the screen, otherwise, oh, you know what? I'll feed it into. I'll give it to Adrian so he can fit it in here. But it's basically the intro to the AEW 300, and in this you see just people being really hyped about what they're going to see, and it feels bigger than it is. Even on TV, going back, I didn't watch the whole show, but I just like seeing how it came across, right? You always have that curiosity, like if what you experience is actually what shows up on TV. And it was really like, it was a really hyped crowd, but it did help that this venue, the smaller venue, helps create that space. This venue, however, looks like a 20,000 seat arena on TV. If it's so darkened. To your point, I like the unique venues that they've been using lately. these like theater type venues because it just gives it a different feel. I think some of those venues, like you feel the crowds like almost like on top of you and stuff like that. I like that. I think it's a unique shift, and it really focuses the attention on like, hey, we got people hanging off the rafters, because you go back to an ECW, right? Those weren't big crowds, but they're impactful. They're cultural shifts, right? I'm not saying that's just what this is, but I think it's a good move in a way. But definitely was just it set the tone for the rest of the night. I'll leave it at that.
Nice. So the one thing we always got to ask, right? Because I know when I go to these shows, especially the big shows, WWE, AEW, TNA, I'm always checking out the merch. And I always compare them. I'm always like, and 9 times out of 10, they don't have what I want anyway. But what? How is the merch? Like variety wise, products. I'm just kind of curious because I feel like sometimes you go to these shows and it's just so basic.
So I'm gonna give my score, and just to I can go back and just follow what we talked about. Production A+, they're on top of it. The crowd was a solid, solid A. They knew they understood the assignment. Merch is where I start getting a little bit weird on it. It's gonna be downgraded. The merch, the quality of the merch they had, pretty good. I'd give it a solid B to B+. The accessibility, I'd probably give it like a D, and I'll tell you why. So you walk in, and this is different because I think I'd mentioned offline in conversation is I was expecting like a truck, like they usually have a truck outside with some merch, and then they have more merch inside. They had one merch booth for the whole building.
Again?
One merch booth. Huge. It was like varied. It was huge, but it was one merch booth for T-shirts, autograph posters, programs. They had signed action figures. They had tons of T-shirts, all the kinds that you can see. And for those of you that are going to be watching in the feed, you'll be able to see this because we'll paste in this clip here. But you'll see all the kind of merch, and it was great. They had flags. They had I think they do this more in soccer, like those scarves and whatnot. They easily had at least 15 different types of shirts. I think Osprey has like this jersey now that looks really. We always talk about we wish pro wrestling shows sold more things that you could wear out in the world. This looked like a team jersey, like you could generally wear it wherever you wanted. They had some Young Bucks merch with their whole gimmick run now with the Founding Fathers, and all these are signed, right? Like all these posters and whatnot. $60 for the posters, a little pricey depending on what you wanted. Hats, every type of hat, every trading cards. I mean, they were probably more prepared with merch than I've seen them ever. They had a Bandito mask, they had Lucha mask, they had it all. I mean, if you had money in your pocket and you are even somewhat of a fan, you probably came away with something. I'm a program guy, so I bought a program for $20, which is very reasonable, But upon opening it, I'm just leaving through it, and Brandon Cutler signed it, of all people. I don't know why. So yeah, I mean, I'd give it man. It's hard for me to. It's a hard grade. I'm gonna give it a C-. But really, man, y'all gotta step up because that was tough. I mean, the merch line was ridiculous because of that, and legitimately, people were there to spend money, like for sure. You're gonna recoup that in merch because the tickets were not that bad. But wow, yeah, it was something else. You can buy the VIP ticket and you get like all these extra goodies and whatnot. But just if you just wanted a T-shirt, you are not gonna get it that night. And yeah, that's. It was unfortunate because they did have some cool stuff there. Nothing you can get online. I think we talked about sometimes the online deals are better, but it's that FOMO. You want to come away with something from the event. But yeah, that was a real head scratcher because.
So you do think that in that venue they could have afforded to have another?
They've done it before.
Okay,
they've done it before.
You think because they went smaller that they just said, okay, we're going to squeeze it. Since we're squeezing things down, we're just going to have one.
I wonder if they're cost cutting, because I do know also just carrying all that merch, but it can't be that much. I mean, they got production trucks. I mean, they were loading in. It's hard to say why they did it and why they were limited. It's not like, number one, it's not a venue they haven't run before. You know, they definitely got on lockdown, because that's always been one of the knocks, at least at live shows for them, is they just didn't have too much merch. They had a few T-shirts, you know, a couple signed things here and there, those little micro brawlers and whatnot. But this was a better setup than any WWE booth I've actually seen. I'll leave it at that. It was actually surprising.
Huge. Yeah,
it was very surprising to see it. And then I picked up per program once, like end of the night. I just ran up and just bought it, you know. But I wasn't gonna wait in line. And by then, like, most merch was like sold out and gone.
Did they have anything specific to the event?
Nothing specific which is, again, nothing AEW 300 branded, nothing Collision 100 branded, and nothing that I don't think anything that you can't get online. Although those signed posters, I mean, WWE does them too, where they just put them in the top loader, and it's a nice thing to have because you're not folding it and whatnot. But even those, I'm sure you can get online. It was just the idea of, we live in this online world now, so you can get all this stuff online. It's not impossible, but it's also nice to go into a brick and mortar store and see things hanging up on. You go to a WWE Superstore, at WrestleMania, and you see everything, and it's like, this is so cool. It was kind of like that, not to that scale, but just seeing the amount of merch they had was just really cool. It was like, okay, this is varied.
I feel like that's a lost opportunity, though, to have something that's
absolutely,
especially in this world, right? Because using WWE as an example, when Bad Blood was here, they had a shirt that you could only get if you came to the VIP thing. That was a very much a Atlanta Braves themed shirt. The next day they had Atlanta Falcons themed shirts.
Right.
They have Atlanta Hawks themed shirts. Usually AJ has a shirt.
Right.
Cody always has a shirt because he's from here, but I think they've started doing that with other cities. But it says Atlanta Nightmare, and I think that's smart because when they first released that, you can't get that online.
Right.
No,
like those are ones that you can only get there. And I think sometimes later on you can get them, but I think that's a lost opportunity for these, especially a big show like that.
I want to say, and I can almost guarantee, because I think I saw someone with the crowd with it on, they definitely had one of the event shirts that has like the roster on the front, because I bought one of those like when they very first, in the very beginning, and on the back it says like I was there, and it might have said AEW 300. I think that's the closest to something like that, because I mean, when they did Worlds Collide here in LA for WWE and AAA, they did the same one with just the poster of a card basically on the back that said I was there. That's the closest, but nothing more site specific. Because one of the cool things I remember going to early New Japan shows here in the States, New Japan USA shows, was they do the New Japan logo, and I just saw you with one not too long ago, and they put in like whatever the colors of the popular sports team is. Like they had like Laker colors, so it was like a yellow shirt with purple lettering, or they went to the Bay Area, it was a blue shirt with yellow lettering for the Warriors. So they didn't outright say, hey, this is a Lakers shirt, but they basically said that. WWE did that here too. When they came, they did a Cena Dodgers jersey, so it's like a white Dodger jersey, but in the same font, but it says Cena instead of Dodgers. And those are, to your point, really cool touches. I just wonder if it's something maybe they just didn't think about, because I'm thinking like the Young Bucks being heels right now, I'm not sure how maybe they're doing some merch. I mean, they had stuff there for sure.
Very cool. Let me see what else I have for you, sir. So who would you say stole the show? Not from I don't know if you watched it on TV, but like live crowd wise, whether it came across on TV or not, but live crowd wise, this is who they were into.
Live crowd wise, I mean, it was your baby faces. They pretty much got like the reaction you expected. Like when Hangman comes out and has this whole segment at the beginning. That was really well received. I'm gonna tell you from a crowd reaction point of view what stole the night, and it wasn't on AEW 300. It wasn't on Dynamite. It was on Collision, and it was this match that clearly wasn't announced. We're there as an audience at this point, and it's FTR versus the Outrunners. And on paper, you're like, well, this is going to be that comedy match, right? And it's going to be, these goofy looking guys that play this 80s role, whatnot, versus, these hardened, tough guys with FTR. Man, that match had everybody getting up and out of their seat for so many damn near falls. And to the point that I'm like on my way home, and I got to stop and get something to eat. And I'm wearing like this Santino Brothers shirt. Some like, oh, cool shirt. I end up chit-chatting. They're also fans. We're like 45 minutes out from the arena. And we're talking about that match because that's the match that stood out to the crowd, right? And it was so old school. It was like something out of like, 80s NW. I don't know, like something like from Memphis or something.
Are over,
because
man. Those guys are over.
Oh, man. It's hell yeah. And it just had these moments, these like real fun near falls, just building up to the point that we all thought like there might be a chance these guys win over FTR. But yeah, that was kind of encapsulated the crowd. And by that point, I'd say maybe 30% of the crowd had left. I think after Dynamite, maybe 25%, and then slowly people, it's a very long night, and it's a weekday. It's a Wednesday too. But definitely that one was kind of the match of the night, but also just crowd reaction of the night. There were others, I'll say this though, Místico came out and they played his theme song that they'd used in Mexico that they licensed or whatnot, or I'm assuming they licensed here in the States now. And not everybody knew it. And it was a little funny because Místico was acting like everybody knew it. And he was out there for a while. I was like, yo, is Triple H gonna come out a la Ric Flair and tap on the shoulder? Like, y'all gotta go, buddy. But now he took off. But that dude's still a star, and your typicals got a pretty good reaction. But I have to say, personally, just looking at the crowd reaction, definitely that Outrunners FTR match was match of the night and biggest crowd reactions to me.
Cool.
I do have a question out of the lead. When they do the show switch over, do they encourage the people that are sitting higher up to move down toward the ring, or is it that kind of reset, or how does that go?
No, they didn't say anything like that, and I'm wondering, it was already a small crowd as it was.
Okay.
Camera side, I mean, they didn't say anything specific. I mean, we were close enough that there was really nowhere for us to move other than down to ringside and whatnot.
Gotcha.
But it was pretty okay still. The one thing is, the crowd is just exhausted by the end of the night. Much as you wanna try your. So if anybody watches those collisions, just remember you just sat through like 3 hours before that, so you're pretty spent by that point.
Yeah, that's definitely the drawback of that, running 2 shows in one night. It's like WrestleMania back in the day. It would be an all-day event, and like by the main event, we're just tapped out.
And that is a point to going back to the piece on Tony Khan coming out. He's definitely that cheerleader coming out, like, don't leave, we still got to do it. And you're like, that's cool, dog, but and they tried all these iterations. I think, didn't they tape it with ROH at some point? And I think they're still trying to figure out whatever.
Did he at least bring up Time Cop?
You think he did? Yeah,
he
did.
Nice.
He did. You're totally right. He did. My favorite movie, and then he took it to the crowd.
So good. Okay,
you're
so
totally right.
He's staying true to the gimmick. Then.
He's consistent. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, I'd definitely the crowd was very fun. Very fun crowd.
So overall grade. What would you give it?
Considering the price, considering that that it was a pretty packed show, I didn't expect Collision 100 to be honest, and I probably would have left right after. But it's wrestling, so I'm going to stick around.
Hell yeah.
I'd give them a solid. It was a solid B effort, I think. B plus even. I'd ever dare say that. Everybody worked their asses off. I mean, I think even after we were heading out, and it was a late night for everybody, and you can tell I think they had a women's match, a multi-women match, and everybody put in the work, and the crew and everything are walking out, and the wrestlers are coming out. They have it's actually pretty cool. They have these charter buses, I guess, to get them to the airport or wherever they need to go. But then some wrestlers have rentals, so we're seeing some of the wrestlers. We see Thunder Rosa come out. We see just different folks come out. I think somebody saw Athena come out, and they're trying to get at least a picture, and she's completely breaks character because she's still this badass. She's a badass no matter what, but she's a heel on TV right now, and she completely straight face. She goes, "Guys, I got a red eye. I got to get out of here," and she just packs her stuff in and she bounces. But yeah, definitely a hardworking crew, and we go back to that piece that we said at the beginning. It's 300 episodes, and the same cast of characters isn't there anymore. It's a very different crew. It's a very different AEW than it was at AEW 1.
Right.
But they hung on that a lot of during the promos. They would say, and I think Tony Khan even said it to close out the night, something along the lines of you've been here since AEW. If you've been here since AEW 1 or 2, or if this is your first AEW, welcome. It was a very very fan centric experience, if I can say that much.
That's a good thing.
One little moment that stood out to me, yeah. Kid had a sign. They were last row of the floor, and said, "This is my first AEW show, or my first wrestling show, I think it was." Oh, and Justin Roberts gets one of the programs, and he signs it. He gets all the announcers to sign it, calls them up, and then he gives them the program. He's
That's awesome.
"Welcome." And then, because he does that whole, I'm going to play with the audience, read the signs, and some lady was there with her son, the mom and the son. They look grown. I mean, maybe he was a teenager. It's my mom's first wrestling show. And he's "Oh, mom's first wrestling show." And the crowd, without hesitation, starts a mom chant. And the mom's
Nice.
so it was that kind of vibe the whole night. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
That's awesome, man.
So the big question, did they do enough to talk you into the building the next time?
If they can hold those cheap ticket prices, I will. Yeah, that's the thing. It's I'll give them a chance, and depending on where we're standing with storylines and how also my commitment to the show. This one just felt like something that I was able to go to. I it's 2 weeks before the big show, so they're going to bring the big guns out, and it's an anniversary show too. So I thought not. Now I wonder if you had said, "Hey, this is just some throwaway Dynamite," would you go? I don't know. That might be tougher. I'm probably there, depending on if it's possible and it's the circumstances align. But definitely, it left a good taste in my mouth outside of the merch. But again, nowadays I don't really go into shows wanting to buy merch. If I get a T-shirt and it's there and I like it, that's cool. But yeah, it's not it's not the end all be all for me. It's not like at an indie show where I'm "Hey, I want to take something with me." So I'd be looking forward to it. That venue is cool. Just it's a little far from LA, so it's definitely something you have to plan for and work out. Otherwise, yeah, you're not gonna make it. And there's been shows at that arena for AEW and WWE that I've just straight out said I'm not gonna make a Raw or I'm not gonna make a Dynamite.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for your in the building report.
Yeah.
To everybody out there watching us, as you know, we normally talk about how to talk people into the building. How did people do the promo? But we got to talk about when we got talked into the building. So I hope you guys enjoyed Ada Lee's recap of AEW 300. Make sure you like, subscribe, go to intothebuilding.com. We got a huge archive back. Other in the building reports and we're going to have some more. There's some things happening here in Atlanta the next couple of days, and as we record this. And so, yeah, we got a bunch of other ones. We've made a commitment to go to more indie shows, kind of give some more in the building reports from those as well. So stay tuned right here on intothebuilding.com. Again, like, subscribe, comment. You know the drill. It's what we do. That's what you do here on social media. So for Adelaide, for Adrian, I'm Greg. This is Talk 'em Into the Building. We'll see you next time.